Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. As always, we have this show packed full of information, stats, facts, and plenty of opinion. 7 different opinions coming at you today from 7 different angles and 7 different fellows. We will have, what I'm excited about is a comparison between the styles, numbers-wise, stats-wise, over their entire careers, Tindall, Martin, and Pearl, so you can walk away from this show having a better idea of exactly what types of teams you're going to see at Tennessee. Some of the numbers are favorable, some of the numbers aren't, but it'll give you a good thumbnail sketch of what you can expect from Donnie Tindall basketball coming up next winter. All right, we get this show started, as always, with our first segment brought to you by our friends at NovaCopy. Yes, they can provide your business with copiers, printers, and document solutions. That is their specialty. But with a free cost analysis of your business, they can help you streamline your workflow, reduce your monthly expenses, and help your business grow. NovaCopy are the folks to check out with. Give them a shout this week or check them out online, NovaCopy. All right, I want to welcome in the first wave of analysts today. We have right over here, as always, in the far right of my desk, the far left of your screen, Jimmy Himes from the Sports Animal, where you host sports talk every day of the week, well, Monday through Friday. We have next to you Mark Pankratz, of course, served on the staff of Bruce Pearl and Conzo Martin here at UT. We have right here Mike Strange, longtime writer and basketball coverer for the Knoxville News Sentinel. And right there, a longtime coach of the Vols. 11 years you were Tennessee's coach. 500-game winner for your career, Don DeVoe. Good to have you here as well.
Thank you.
We will talk about the search in a later segment. First segment, I just want to get opening impressions of Donnie Tindall. This time a week ago, we were all sitting around saying, okay, it looks like it's going to be Michael White. That had broken on Saturday night. Now we talk about Donnie Tindall. Don, we'll start with you. You're the visiting guest back with us in town. Tindall's teams at Southern Miss have been in the NIT the last 2 years. You're on the NIT selection committee, so you're a little bit familiar with him and his program and certainly his reputation. Thoughts on Donnie Tindall?
Well, I think Dave Hart did a great job. It's not a matter of who you want when you go out and you start looking. It's a matter of who you're going to be able to get. And I think Donnie Tindall is a great catch for Dave Hart because he's proven that he can win. If you can win at Morehead State, coming off like a 4-win season and put the team together and get so advanced that you're able to beat Louisville in the NCAA tournament, and then you move on to Southern Miss and you take over another situation where the program had not done well, obviously, and you bring that program to a point where actually this year I'm almost sure that he had the highest RPI of a team that did not get into the NCAA tournament. And of course he was a very high seed on our postseason NIT. So I think Dave Hart did a fantastic job of getting a player who is a winner, and more than anything else, he understands the geography. He knows the back roads of the Southeastern Conference. He knows how to go out and he knows how to talk to people. I think this is a great hire for Dave Hart.
Okay. Mark Pankratz, you've been in the coaching industry quite recently, as we detailed earlier. Thoughts on Donnie Tindall and what you've heard?
Well, I go back to Dave Hart's press conference where he talked about fit. And I think from Tindall's background in recruiting the Southeast, his style of play that we'll obviously talk about more later, but his ability to recruit and the way coaches have talked to me about his zone, the effect it has, and the relationships he has with his players, I think it's a really good hire. I'm excited to see the transition into what he brings, but I think Dave Hart did a really good job.
Mike Strange, your thoughts on Tindall? We'll talk about the search a little bit later. Thoughts on Tindall?
Well, as Mark said, I don't want to get too X and OE here to start with,
but
I like the idea of his defense, the kind of defense he plays, kind of being a separator, a difference maker that maybe can overcome some deficiencies. I talked to people that knew him when he was at LSU, people in Murfreesboro who knew him when he was at Middle Tennessee. Great guy. They all say he's a great guy.
All right. Jimmy Himes, you've had radio shows this week since this happened. You do it with phone calls from the fan base. Now, granted, a few phone calls aren't going to be indicative of the entire fan base, but
thank goodness.
Typically you have angry people that pick up the phone and call. But what has been the response of the fan base in your view, and then what's your take on Donnie Tindall?
I think most people they look at his resume and they say, okay, this is a guy that looks like a good hire for Tennessee. Then you've got a camp that's cautiously optimistic. Then you got a camp that said, well, anybody but Bruce Pearl is no good. So, but I think the majority of the people either are cautiously optimistic or feel really good about the hire. I like the fact that he's been a head coach 9 years, 6 at Morehead State, 1 at a junior college, 2 at Southern Miss. I like the fact that he's got a really good reputation as a recruiter, because you're going to have to do that at Tennessee. But the one thing that you never know about is, can you go from mid-major level to having success at the SEC? We've seen a number of coaches come into this league that didn't from mid-majors. We've seen some that did. So the jury's still out in that regard. But from whether it's John Brady or Kermit Davis, from talking to different people or hearing what they said, this looks like a good hire for Tennessee.
The one thing that stands out, well, two things stand out to me, and one of them you just touched on. Dave Hart said track record was going to be important. When they got this close to Michael White, guy's got 3 years track record. Okay, that's what you did with Cuonzo Martin. If it's me, I would rather get. There's no guarantee this makes it a better hire, but I would rather get the guy with a little bit longer resume. It's a little more proven. The other thing that I think is positive, and it's important to embrace your fan base, but for some reason here at Tennessee, it's much more important. You read, I read 3 different columns during the search from people who've written about Tennessee for a long time, and they all said Tennessee has to have a showman, somebody that can go out and embrace the fans and bring them in. I don't know if this guy's going to ride unicycles, but I have a lot of people saying that he has the right personality that fans will attach to him.
I was in his office Thursday, and for whatever reason, I swear there was a unicycle in the corner of his office. I swear there was an orange unicycle in the corner of his office. No, maybe it was probably in there. Maybe for the 3 years Connors was in there, maybe it was in there too.
I doubt that. But that's interesting. Now it's going to be on the message board. Tyndall's bringing the unicycle back. But how important is that connection with the fan base? I mean, there are other schools that don't need. I mean, Rick Barnes. I don't picture him as being Mr. Pizzazz, but at Tennessee, you do have to have a little bit of a showman's flair. At least you could say that to Cuonzo Martin and Jerry Green. Personality is why they're not here. This guy seems to have personality.
Well, I think it boils back down to the fan base, from my understanding, kind of grew up on the Ray Mears. And that's what that was their first taste of real success. And because that's how he was, that's kind of how the fan base has grown into it. And so they do expect some of that stuff. And I think to a certain extent, it is important to go out and talk to your fans and be around in the community.
Certainly.
But at the end of the day, you just got to win basketball games. And the brand of the style of play also plays into that.
Hey, John, the only problem I have, being an old Ohio guy, is that we're getting overloaded here at Tennessee with Michiganders. You know, I mean, you got Coach Jones, who is from really a small city up in Michigan. You got Dean Lockwood, who is from the Saginaw Bay area. And now we got Donnie Tyndall. I'm telling you, from an Ohio guy, this is a little bit too much.
It is an unusual accent to hear occasionally out there. I'm waiting for the Tracy Wolfson coach to come out at some point. They have that Michigan kind of a sound to it, almost like they're that Canadian side. All right, when we come back, response pretty good to Donnie Tyndall. We'll talk about the search itself. Had its ups and downs. Doesn't matter. We'll discuss. Come on back on the Sports Source.